Hey everyone. All right, I know we've got another minute before the live stream starts, but we've got a lot of social media posts that are going out, so I kind of wanted everything to get out there in front of everyone, and then we'll get going. But beforehand, if you're seeing this right now on YouTube, a few things to break down. Again, if you're watching right now and there's something wrong with the audio, go ahead and leave a comment. But before we'll get started right at 4 o'clock Eastern time, we're about a minute away. So going into it, this weekend we've got the New York Film Festival happening, and I'm not going to see anything that's playing there today. But the biggest news, the reviews are coming out right now saying that The Tragedy of Macbeth, the first movie that Joel Cohen is directing fully on his own, is pretty good, is from the sounds of it. So that's exciting. And but no, I was going to go, but the tickets are $140, and then on top of that, 2001 is playing across the river and in 70 millimeters. So I was going to go to that instead. Okay, it's 4 o'clock, so let's get started. Hope everyone has had a great week. Hope that you are about to have a great weekend. Fall is here, and here it kind of feels like it. So hope you have a great weekend. Okay, the big news. Before actually an article came out earlier, the news starting the day was that we didn't know when this strike was going to happen, but it was going to happen. Okay, over 60% of Hollywood right now, that's about around 150,000 people in Hollywood, are about to go on strike. This morning, it was pretty much at a point that it was going to be any moment, and it was going to cause a total production shutdown. And if you're putting comments, James Pond, thank you very much for joining. And I'm going to 100% get to all of those. So put any comments or questions in, and then as we transition from each topic, I'll get to a few of those. But as I said, at the beginning of the day, we didn't know when this strike was going to happen. We had no idea. They were pretty much saying, there were days that votes were going to happen, but now we have a date. Okay. Between October 1st and the 3rd, the union is going to have to make a vote about whether or not they're going to support a strike. And so that means that by the end of the day on the 3rd, and then October 4th, early October 4th, is when I think we'll hear from the president about whether or not a strike is going to happen. And I think it more than likely will. Do I have to go see Dear Evan Hansen? Is that something that I have to go see? That was a big Broadway thing. I think I'm saying that it was a big Broadway thing. The reviews haven't been awesome. Like, if the critics' reviews are low and the audience review is high, I feel like you still have a good chance that you're going to enjoy it. But the audience and the critics all don't like this one. So I don't know. I'll still go see it. I mean, especially with the way theaters are right now, I'll go and see it. Not going to say that I'm too excited for Dear Evan Hansen right now. Or what is everyone's thoughts about Dear Evan Hansen? Are y'all excited for that? See it in IMAX and bring tissues. Okay, cried for 2 hours. This might be worth it. Might need to happen then. Okay, that might need to happen. But okay, I figured it might be a good idea to kind of get into what is going on with this strike. Why is it happening? There are tons of articles going through tons of different issues. So I think some of this stuff is fair. Some of this stuff is not fair. Overall, I think the strike is more than justified. So I'm going to go ahead and just get into what the main issues are. Okay. So I would say that the best way to encapsulate everything is James Pond. That's an important comment, I would say, especially if it's a Broadway thing. You're never really sure who the audience is. So I would sum up the strike issue as being a cult level of exclusion going on in the industry in Hollywood that makes it completely necessary for people to suffer between 65 and 80-hour work weeks. Otherwise, if you do not go along with that happily, then you're going to pretty much be ostracized from Hollywood. Okay. I think if you wanted to sum up why people are pissed off and why this strike is happening, then that would be the reason why. Okay, there's a lot of talk going on that you're going to look up regarding a pension. Okay, you've got two people that are fighting in this thing. You've got IATSE and you've got the AMPTP. All right, so IATSE is the ones that are really fighting for the strike. Okay, the AMPTP, they're saying, oh, we're offering you this pension, all this stuff. I would say that is misleading. Trust me, they're just trying to make it sound like people aren't wanting to play ball. I don't think that's anywhere near the real issue. The two issues that are going on here, they're trying to get it so that if you work on a crew, you have a minimum time of 40-hour work week. Right now, it's at about 60, I believe. Again, link in the description to the Instagram story. I put it in there, and there's going to be a whole lot of information in there. So look there to fact check me about what I'm saying. But bringing it so that you have a 40-hour minimum work week instead of a 60-hour minimum work week. And then I think the one that I feel is the worst is there are different types of tiers of payment that you get for certain shows. So 30 years ago, if you're working on a movie that Warner Brothers is going to give a full theatrical release, you're getting paid pretty well. If you are in 2003 and Hulu has got some, or whenever, let's say 2007, 2008, Hulu's got some small little web series they're doing. It's a web series or it's new media. So technically that's not going to pay that much as you'd get on a theatrical spot for Warner Brothers. The problem comes in whenever streaming takes over the entire world. And that means that Netflix and Hulu, those streaming production companies, can technically still, if they want to, categorize themselves as new media. You can pay the lower prices. And the people that work on the shows now are pretty much feeling new media can't count for streaming. We're being paid the lowest amount of money for new media. And the definition of new media is now the dominant force in the industry. So it's not fair. And I think because 2 years ago they came for a vote for a strike and the union said no. And now the union is fully behind this. And I think that the reason for that is because of the pandemic. Everyone in the world is doing streaming. Streaming is now, if it wasn't the modus operandi 5 years ago, it is today. And that is now that's the thing that's being pushed everywhere. And now that means that this new media thing needs to go away. That's what they're saying. I think that's kind of the biggest one, tying that to the amount of hours as well. So there's a lot of, okay, I might need to see this. There's a lot of talk in the group about Dear Evan Hansen. Ben Platt is too old to play a high schooler. Those trailers do look weird. I'm sorry. I'm getting off now on the Dear Evan Hansen thing. I will come back to that. So regarding the strike, how is this going to play out? How does it look like this is going to happen? Because right now it definitely looks like it is going to happen and there will be a strike. And if you're just joining, the strike is going to make it so that nothing is happening in Hollywood, okay? Almost nothing is happening in Hollywood. This is going to be worse than the writer's strike. It's going to be huge news soon. So IATSE, their current pay television agreement, it pretty much means that even when the strike happens, HBO, Showtime, and Starz, they're still going to be operating, okay? HBO, I think, is the biggest one. So pretty much we're still going to see content coming onto HBO Max until December 31st of 2022. I don't think the strike is going to last until Christmas of 2022. But everything else, that means all of the likes of Netflix, all the other streamers, all the other networks are going to go pretty much dark. And again, if you're just joining, that's going to be October 3rd, end of the day is when they're going to have reached their vote. And I think it's going to be yes, based on the amount of support they're getting. It's going to be a yes. And after that, yeah, everything. And then the president has to say, yes, we're doing a strike, and then it's going to go dark. So I would say that a week from this next Tuesday, I think is whenever this is probably going to happen. I would say that's the earliest where we could see something happen. The devil's advocate if you want to really listen to the other side, the AMPTP, if you want to say, well, what are they saying? Like, there's no way are they really just being total dicks throughout this entire process? What the AMPTP is saying is that IATSE, the union that's striking or saying they're going to strike, they're saying that they're lying about the negotiations. They're saying that they have not gotten a counter offer. They're saying that they are not operating in good faith in terms of what they have given them. They're pretty much saying that they haven't heard from IATSE. Now, if you look through all of these articles, IATSE has been putting out lots of evidence for the communication they've been doing with the AMPTP. The AMPTP has put out nothing. They've given no evidence. So I really was looking for what the devil's advocate position was on this, and I don't trust it at all. So on this one, I would say it's probably going to be the best thing for a strike to happen. But the bigger question is, I mean, what's going to happen after all this? Like, we're talking about an entire industry going on total strike, putting everything on the back burner, making tons of people lose money, tons of people lose work, tons of people be out of work. I mean, for what happens if this thing goes through? Also, if this thing doesn't go through, what's going to happen? And here's the part where I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but there are other stories happening this week that make this a weird time for the film industry right now. So in terms of streaming, okay, last week, the Disney CEO put out this video, and it was pretty much this type of quarterly, hey, investors, don't be terrified and don't pull all of your money. So I would say, go if you want to, go watch the whole thing, but pretty much the weirdest part about it is that he addresses Wall Street at one point in it, and he pretty much preps Wall Street for saying, we are about at Disney to have a very rough 6 months. Again, this was last week that he did this, saying we're going to have a very rough 6 months. If you want to take a guess as to why we're going to have a tough 6 months, it's because of COVID. It's because of the Delta variant. There's going to be more Delta variants. Who has any idea how this is going to affect everything? blah, 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 blah. Look, the thing is, the timing on this is a little bit suspect. Just saying it's COVID, like, if you think that COVID is an issue, then your biggest issue is that you could be 10 days away from your entire town and all of your workforce not being able to operate. So he pretty much said expect a loss and expect a flatlining of streaming up until about the second quarter in 2022, which, if you pair this news last week, this announcement with the strike, I think that they're getting nervous. It looks like people are more nervous than usual. That one in particular is very strange. The other thing is that Netflix is investing in a huge, like, whopping amount, $1 billion worth of studio space in the UK. That's a huge investment in a new area. And look, the UK is known for having a great workforce. They're known for having crews that are very satisfied with the levels that they work. Okay, maybe not totally, but like, compare how working goes in the industry in the UK and how it goes in California. They don't it People aren't complaining about drowsily driving their cars off the road because they work for 2 days in a row. So that's strange. And Netflix is saying that they're going to invest even more money in the UK. Netflix is they're going to bring production offices here to Brooklyn. Everybody knows that Atlanta, with Tyler Perry's operation, is just continuing growth in the film industry in Atlanta. There's a lot of money going a lot of other places other than Hollywood. And because of this strike that's going on right now, first of all, a lot of people are saying they're not going to do the strike. The people that are decision makers are saying they don't want to go along with the stuff that the union is requiring. And so, based on what I'm seeing, if the strike doesn't happen, I think a lot of people are going to leave California and they're going to go to a lot of the other places where streamers are putting the money. And on the other side of that, if the strike does happen, that's going to be catastrophic for the film industry in the short term. Hopefully the working environment changes. I really think it needs to change. I think they need to really give in to what it is that IATSE is asking for right now. And I mean, the tough thing about that is that people are going to have to, audiences, I mean, are going to have to be more used to, you can't turn a Marvel movie around in a year. Like, there's already so many people working around the clock. You have to double your workforce, and that just isn't going to happen. It's going to have to be a lot more intention is going to have to go into these projects. Like, you listen to some interviews, directors sometimes will talk about how they'll show up onto set and they just have to kind of feel it. They don't like doing storyboards. A lot of people, like, if you looked through 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, everything was storyboarded. In the last 15 years, a lot of more indie filmmakers that have made their way into the industry, not a huge fan of storyboarding. You got to feel it in the moment. That's how you really get the art. But that also is going to add a shit ton of time onto, hey, either you don't buy more time of the production company, or you just work until 3 a.m. and you feel it when you're on the set. And that pisses people off. I think, yeah, people in Hollywood, the working force is getting pissed off. Money is going other places. So either the strike happens and we'll see what happens, but it'll be tough on the viewer. It'll be tough on the industry still, or the strike doesn't happen. At that point, I think a lot of people start leaving because it's just weird over there. It's weird. And go to again, it's in the description, IA stories. They've got a whole list on Instagram if you just want to see screenshots of really depressing stories of what the working environments are, the type of stuff that when you hear strike and you think, oh, workers are complaining, this is not that. A little bit of good news, like I said, if you were here at the beginning. Well, before I go on, let's see. Lakeland title, yeah, Ben Platt is too old to play a high schooler. The trailers look very weird. He looks weird in it because he does look like a 30-year-old dude. And then again, Lakeland title, if you're in the union, can you take non-union work in right-to-work states like Louisiana? Yeah, I again don't want to be anyone that's watching that knows the full-on answer to this. Correct me if I'm saying anything incorrect, but you can still take non-union work. But the part that really makes the California thing very strange is that, and this is what I mean about like the cult-like feeling in California, you need to plan out what your projects are. And there's a strange level of almost like devotion, or just like you have to be in town. There's like a feeling you have to be in town. You've got to be working with people here. There's a lot of commitment that's tied into the unions. So you can do non-union work. I think you can do non-union work, but you normally are taking a loss in your contracts. and you're also taking a loss in terms of kind of the impression. Like if you leave, then you have to do well, because people I know people who have left and have done certain things like that and are kind of treated like shit when they do so, because it's just kind of like, it's just a stigma of, oh, you left the group, you made the wrong decision. It's weird. There's a lot of strange emotional stuff tied in, which makes that a very weird town to work in. But legally, you can do that. I'm almost certain that you can do that. Hey, Danny, how's it going? How's it going? I think you might have seen the review of Malignant. If you saw the review of Malignant that dropped earlier today, have you seen Malignant? It's on HBO Max. If you like horror movies, you need to watch Malignant. Malignant is a ton of fun, weird as shit. That is such a weird movie, but it's a ton of fun. So go check that out. That review is on the 5 Minute Critic channel right now. Good news. Okay. Like I said, right at the start of this, the New York Film Festival has started. The new and the big movie that is coming out of there is with Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand, called The Tragedy of Macbeth. If you like the Coen brothers, it's a new Coen brothers movie, but it doesn't have Joel Coen, which is weird. But the reviews say that it is insane. I will say the coolest thing coming out of film festivals right now, all of the movies are short. Most of the movies that are showing at film festivals right now are like 90 minutes long. The stuff that was normally coming out, I mean, remember whenever The Irishman was at the New York Film Festival, like 2.5, almost, like, was it 3 years ago now? That thing, it was like 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, movies are getting shorter, and I think they're getting more concise. I think that's probably from what the pandemic did. I think everyone now is ingrained into knowing streaming is how it goes. And a big thing people look at when they're looking at streaming is, crap, I need to go to bed in 2 hours. Let's pick something that's like 90 minutes, 100 minutes or something like that. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence from what they've scheduled at the New York Film Festival, but I'm excited to see some shorter movies. James Pond, I saw Malignant. James Wan is awesome. I have never been a big fan of James Wan. Like, I saw the first Conjuring movie. I did not see the one after that. Insidious, I thought was all right. I loved Saw. I saw Saw probably a little bit too young, and it scared the shit out of me. So I've always been creeped out by that series. But I was never, and I didn't see Aquaman either. But Malignant's a lot of fun. If he's pushing like some weird boundaries in that movie, and I absolutely fucking love it. It is so cool. And yeah, again, even if you don't like horror, it's a ton of fun. And the first hour, I think, has a lot of cringy moments, but honestly, after the first hour, it's such a ride that it's totally worth it. Death Sentence. I have not heard of that one. Okay, I'll need to check that out as well. Hey, if he made something like this, then I clearly have been overlooking stuff in his work. But that is just about it. The movie that is coming out this next week is going to be the review for next week is going to be The Card Counter, and that stars Oscar Isaac, Tiffany Haddish, from the writer and director of First Reformed, which is an awesome movie that you need to watch. Very intense, very dark. Both movies, that one and this one, are very dark. But also the writer of Taxi Driver. And it has that feeling. And this reunites the writer of Taxi Driver with Martin Scorsese, who he's not directing, but he's the executive producer. Fun. Okay. If you like movies that are intense, then and dramatic and not slow, but are okay taking their time, this is a pretty short movie. And if that's your kind of fun, then The Card Counter does that. And I enjoyed it a whole lot, but the review will be out next week, kind of diving into that a little bit more. And again, this time next week, I'll keep talking about what's going on with the strike. We're going to get a ton of more news about the strike. But this time next week, the strike will not have started yet. It will have a lot more details. I would say we'll know for sure what is going to play out. But right now, all we know is that a week from Monday is the deadline for everyone to vote. If they get over 75% of the vote, then that means it authorizes a strike. After that, the president gets to decide if the strike happens, which, again, I think will probably be a week from this next Tuesday, so October 4th. Something to keep an eye out for, because if that happens, then, well, we'll see what we can do. Oh, Daniel, thoughts on Denzel in Macbeth? I haven't seen it yet. I have not seen it. I really, really want to go see it. I actually am just about to buy some tickets for the movies I'm going to go see at the New York Film Festival. The trailer looks amazing. I would say the way that Joel Coen especially makes movies, he makes them with that noir, mystery, black and white, very stark contrast. And it looks like this movie kind of has that mystery noir feel to it. So the mixture of that with a Macbeth story is very exciting. Denzel Washington can't not do anything. He's awesome. Denzel Washington is like a phenomenal actor. I would say the exciting thing is that knowing that Denzel can pretty much do anything, loves to test the boundaries of what he can do. I can't think of anything that's like Macbeth. So I don't know what to expect, but I know that he always gives his all for his performances. So I don't know what to think, but I'm excited because I can't imagine he's not going to knock it out of the park. So thank you. Oh, and that also that'll be Apple TV, and I think it comes out Christmas Day. So I also want to go see that on Christmas Day. I feel like that's the type of movie, at least, that I will open gifts and then go see it on Christmas, which maybe that's a little bit weird. Oh, random question. Few more questions here. Random question. How is NYC right now? Thinking about visiting soon. I actually have family that is coming to visit. I would say that because of the rule, and I really don't want to get into it because it's so divisive that you're going to offend people. I'm just going to give total facts here. You can't go anywhere or do anything unless you have a vaccine card. You need to show that in order to go into indoor places. And if you're going to be here in October, November, December, you're going to be freezing if you don't have that. So I would say that just know that that is going to be something that will need to be shown in order to go inside. That's just the data. I'm not making a judgment call about that, but that's just kind of the data of how that works. I love it. I do. I've loved it. I think it's great. I honestly don't think that a trip for 4 days, James Pond, I see that there's too many homeless. You'll get mugged. I have seen some shit, literal and figurative, in the last few months whenever it comes to that. But I haven't seen them be that aggressive. And I don't know if I'm just saying, like, I was living in LA for the first part of this year, and they are intense over there. And so maybe coming here is just a step down. I'm more in like the Upper East area of NYC. So maybe I just don't come across that as much. I enjoy it. I would say it's worth it to visit because even if you're spending a week or 2 weeks, you will have nowhere near enough time to do what you want to do. And also, people aren't visiting so much, so the crowds aren't as big. If all of that sounds okay, then I think that it would be an incredible trip and well worth it. And James Pond said, I saw The Guilty with Jake Gyllenhaal. It's worth your time. The Danish version is better. Okay. I've seen those trailers. I have not seen the movie. I didn't even know there was an original Danish version, but that sounds very exciting. I will add it to my Letterboxd. So I'll definitely watch that for sure. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, Malignant is on the channel right now. So also don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for future updates on reviews and movie news.